Creative Inkster, and it's Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, and it's time for a Technique Tuesday. Now, every time Stampin' Up! Comes out with a new catalog, they've got a great set of decorative masks, and I buy them all the time, and then I forget about them. They go up on my shelf, and I don't use them to their fullest. So I thought I would pull them out and share this fun with you tonight. How the decorative masks work is they're these plastic sheet pieces. And it's good that they're such a dark color because you could use them for with any color of ink. And in this pack you get 5 different ones, and they have different patterns. So this one is this little, I don't know what that shape is, but this lovely little shape here. There's one that is more like squares. Here's some squares with inner squares, so a bit more of a lattice look. This is very pretty too. This has like little flowers. And then these ones, which I haven't really thought about how I might use them. Oh, I should kind of make them so you can see them. This cutout here is like a label piece. I bet someone could turn that into lips or a smile or something. So there's this one, which is a little different than I've seen before. And then these fun ones here. So I made a card before starting this video, actually a couple weeks ago, and I used this double sort of lattice looking one here. Let me just scoop these guys over. So I did that one on here, and how I added the ink behind it on my white cardstock was with a blending brush and some ink. So I'm going to use the same technique but with a different one of the masks tonight. I'm going to show you how I play around with this, and then you can just add a focal point. So you're literally making your own pattern paper. So I'm going to go with the ladybug as my focal point. So I'm going to use this one here. So let's grab the scratch paper because we don't want to mess up a whole sheet of nice paper. And these you'll find measure 4 7/8 by 6 1/4. So they're a nice size, and they're actually bigger than a card layer that you might use. And I typically go with a piece of white that's bigger than I want for my finished product. So on my card base, this white that I'm going to work with is going to layer onto the black. The black's 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to start with a 4 by 5 1/4 in white, and then we're going to work around that. So you need to first place it down so that it has some temporary adhesive holding it in place. So because my paper is bigger, well, that works to my advantage. I'm going to use my grid lines to kind of line it up so I know I have it reasonably straight. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit up here, and this is washi tape. You can use painter's tape or temporary adhesive to hold it down, whatever works. And then here's my template. It doesn't really seem to have a right or a wrong side. I've just used them. And then I can either get it flush so that that edge shows up on there, or I'm just going to have it sort of as a running pattern. I'm not too concerned other than to maybe have it be straight and not kind of on an angle, because it does have an obvious up and down. So to do that, I'm just lining it up on here with the bumps across the top, and then I'm going to take some more of this lovely leftover washi tape and hold the template down in place. So did I wiggle it? Is it still somewhat straight? There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to put some tape to hold the template down. You can add more, like you might want to put it in the 4 corners just so that the edge of your blending brush or whatever sponge or medium you're using doesn't catch the corner. Okay, there we go. We're on our scratch paper. Got my blending brush. So you can also use a blending, like a sponge dauber, or you could spritz it. So we have these great spritzers. I've got water in this one here because I use that for other things, but you can put re-inker in these and you could spritz on that too. So there's a lot of different ways. And I want to get some ink, but what I found is a way to use my blending brushes and not waste an awful lot of ink is by taking the ink pad and sticking one of our blocks, a clean one, into it, and then that pulls up some color, but I'm not going into my ink pad. I can go back and add more if I want, but I'm not going in there with the blending brush and pulling and pulling and pulling color all out of one spot. So basically, we're going to just add some color to the blending brush. I'm going to just go off the page a little bit because I want to make sure that I have it landing the way that I'd like. So hopefully I've not actually used this particular pattern before. It's going to be transferring quite a bit of ink. So I'm actually going to have to dunk this back into the ink pad again. It's going to give varying colors of the Tahitian tide. That's the color of ink. That's one of our ink colors for this next 2-year period that started in May. So here we go. We'll just pull some more up. It also makes it a little bit more controlled if you're picking it up from the ink pad, from the block versus directly from the ink pad. Now some people have one blending brush for each color family, or one blending brush for each color if you use a certain number of colors. I tend to wash mine, and I've heard that what you can do instead of washing them, and it means that you'll keep the color on the blending brush and you don't have to season it, if you will, every time, is to have more blending brushes. But I'm not really going to do that. I find this is an economical way to use my blending brushes as I need to. There we go. And if you do see little lines as you're going along, just go back in with your blending brush and spread them around. And there is no proper way to hold these. They're flexible by design. I tend to hold them around the top rather than just holding the bottom of it. I don't know, I guess it's just kind of what I've gotten used to doing. I haven't thought about doing it a different way, but you could. But I like kind of holding them up here and get a nice grip on them when I'm using them. So I'm going to keep going here and add color all over. See how this ends up. It's going to be varied coloring, so there may be some more color in some areas than others, and I'm okay with that. I'm looking for something that's very unique, that isn't just like buying pattern paper where you get the cookie cutter look on every design. I'm looking for something a little more unique, and that's what I think I'm going to get out of this. Alright, so that's a good amount of color laid down. I'm just going to clean my block before I stick my finger in it. Hi Mark, hi Vicky. So just a quick recap. I'm not sure where you joined me because I just looked up, but I'm using our decorative masks. I've taped down a piece of paper with some washi tape to hold it in place, and the paper's bigger than the final piece I'm going to need. And then I took my block and I dabbed it into my ink pad, and I worked from there to pick up my color on the blending brush. Alright, so we're done this part. It pretty much dries right away. So look at this big reveal here as we pull off the mask. And because this is water-based ink, I can let it sit for a little bit and then take it over to the sink and I just wash it in the sink and stand it up on the side. So I'm just going to tuck it out of the way for right now. You could reuse that washi tape. I probably won't. And then I'm going to pick up my piece of paper here. And I know from putting washi tape in the corners that I've kind of compromised the ability to have it fit entirely, but I'm going to cut this down, so that's fine. So if you don't have any decorative masks, again, so here's the ones that are in this set, this large squared ones, which you could turn into a cool window, the little flowers. The one I did my sample on with the double panes, and then this interesting label one that I haven't used. So those 5. If you don't have anything like that, go ahead and take some dies that you have and just die cut out, but die cut it on something really thick. So the backing for our paper packs, the white paper pack backing, this should go through, or at least something like a really heavy thick card base, and then you'll be able to use it over and over again. And if you punch all the pieces out, well, then you'll get this lovely piece as a template to use as well. You can also use circles. If you die cut some circles, you could put them down and sponge around them. So a couple of different ideas to use. So I'm going to grab the paper trimmer and trim this down and see what happens when I do that. Let's see. I feel like it's going to be a little smaller than I intended. That's 3 3/4. I wanted to go to 3 3/4 by 5. So let's see. Ooh, I think I might be able to make that work. By 5. Oh, I might have to make it go just a little bit smaller. 4 7/8. There we go, because I got rid of that little piece of white I had sticking there. 4 7/8 by, oh, I made it 3 1/2, did I? Okay, 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. That's a nice layer size. Alrighty. So there's my piece, and it's going to have a nice wide border on the black. I could even trim the black down if I wanted to. And then that's going to go on a corresponding Tahitian tied card base. That'll just pop so nicely. So let's see. Take a little auditioning of the card there and see if I like that or what I want. I think I want this black just a little bit smaller. So let's try and do that. We will go to 3 7/8. 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. I think I remember all my fractions from growing up. From math class. There we go. Yeah, that's a little bit nicer. Okay, so to match the card in design that I did previously, we're going to glue this down. Where's my liquid glue? There it is. Oopsie, sorry about that. I'm going to glue this down on the layer. Like I said, I always buy the masks, and I just sometimes put them up on the shelf when they come in and then forget to grab them and use them. I find that I probably used them more when I did a class on masks, so that would be your product-based class and showing you some techniques. Probably due to do that again. With, of course, not doing in-person classes for so long, that's kind of been missing too. All right, this piece of white is 4 by 5 1/4, and it's going to go on the inside, so I'm ready for my writing on the inside of my card when I'm ready to send this one out. And since we've spent a good amount of time making a beautiful pattern, there's no sense in hiding it with a whole bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do is take a piece of 2 by 4 1/4 inch white, and with one of our label punches, I'm going to push this up here, and I just like to check on the back that it's straight. And this allows you to make your tags as long as you want, and you can go to 1 3/4, 1 1/2, or even 1 inch on the inside. That's going to be longer probably than I need, so I'm reserving the ability to trim some of that off. Let's work on the focal point and just see what happens when we get our ladybug. Ladybug, ladybug, here she is. So I don't like to stamp the ladybug body. I prefer to punch it out from black cardstock. It's nice and it's crisp and it's black, and I don't have to worry about getting my Stamparatus out to get really good coverage on a stamp like that. I just prefer to do that. Call me crazy. And then from last night, I had this sitting around close by on my table, and I was going to punch out some wings, but I'm not going to color these ones in like I did the coloring last night. Just going to try to find a pattern of words that doesn't have a whole bunch of white space, so to speak. Alrighty, there we go, and I thought that kind of softened it up and made it look a little interesting. Alright, so I'm only going to put a little wee bit of glue on the back because it's going to show through because it's clear and it hasn't been colored. The colored ones would hide your glue a little bit. So there we go. I'm going to put ever so little of a bit there and hope that it fits in and kind of covers it up there. Turned out pretty well. I kind of like that. And then this guy's going to go on here. I've got a hole for putting in some twine. So what did I grab from my stash? A little bit of this twine to just sort of stick out. This is the matching Tahitian tied metallic woven. Kind of nice. And then I'm gonna shorten this guy up a little bit so that I can have a greeting on the bottom, but not have it be too long. So ultimately, I think I'll make it 3 1/4 inches. So I'm just cutting that bit off. Take a look at where this is going to land. And we've got space to put a greeting here. So from the Hello Ladybug stamp set, you can bug me anytime. It's not quite big enough, but it would be if I put it on its side. Could do that. Why don't we do that for fun? I don't even know if I've used that stamp yet. Used a lot of the other ones in this set, so you can bug me anytime. Let's see. Just looking for a block. And I'm going to use the Tahitian Tide for bright color. There we go. Stick it along the side because I don't think it's going to fit along the bottom. Oh, you know what it does? Oh, it does. Just fits along the bottom here. Check it out. Woohoo! Just fits. Perfect. Awesome. Alrighty. And then we're going to get some dimensionals, right? We got to pop this guy up. We can't leave him floating kind of flat there. We got to give him some pizzazz. Ooh, I think my dimensional might be a little far over there. So when you first put them down, you have a little bit of play time that you can pick them up before they're there forever. There we go. There we are. There's our ladybug. And then this ribbon is thin. So I'm going to just double it up and stick it through the hole. Nice and sparkly. So whereas on the other one I put a thicker ribbon through and then tied it with the twine. I'm going to put this through and I think I'm actually going to see about, I feel like it needs another knot. It needs something. It's not staying. What's happening? You know what? Instead, maybe let's just put a nice bow. I like bows. This ribbon is more of a twine, a metallic woven ribbon, but you can fray the ends nicely. So we can just stick this through here. Nobody needs to know it has a hole in it. Let's get this on here first, and I think we'll actually glue this guy down. And then we'll put a glue dot where the hole is and kind of hide it with that. There we go. Grab the glue dots. Look up, see who's commenting. Thanks for being here, ladies. It's nice to know there's somebody out there in the ether. Grab a wee glue dot. Stick that down over the hole. There we go. And we can put this guy on there. See? And then if we trim it, and then I think you can pull the ends and fray them a little bit. You can fray that a little bit. There we go. And do the same on this side. That just kind of adds a little bit more to the sparkle. But not fray it so much that it just kind of comes apart. That's not what we're going for. Alrighty, so there we go. There's our little guy. And then we'll stick him on there. Now it's time to use some dimensionals to pop this one up. And that's using some decorative masks. So if you're interested, they're think they're like $12, $13 for the set of 5. I can hook you up, and you could be masking away. Adds a lot and to your crafting because you can make your own pattern paper. Makes it fun. I think it needs something else though, don't you? I think it needs a little more bling of some kind. It still needs some sparkly bling of some kind. So let's grab the regular rhinestones because they're nice and sparkly. There's a couple sitting on the end of this sheet here, and put one on there, and one here, and here, and then put the 4th one up here. There we go. I usually like to use them in odd numbers, but I think that works. So there we go. There's our guy. Hi, Marilyn. Thank you so much. Now, I love using the masks and having them. I just need to sit down and grab some coloring tools and have a little play once in a while. Alrighty, folks. That's it for me for tonight. Have a wonderful week and a good long weekend. It is my plan on Monday to be back with a Creative Escape event at 7 o'clock on Monday, Labor Day weekend, and hope you can join me then. Take good care. Bye for now.